Bars are places of laughter, connection, and sometimes danger. Tonight, I'll share 3 chilling tales where an ordinary night out took a sinister turn. These are 3 bar horror stories. Let's begin. Story number 1. I've been bartending for a while, and you get used to all kinds of people. Some nights are easy, regulars just chatting over drinks. Other nights, it feels like you're babysitting adults who can't hold their liquor. That night, it started like the second kind, but it ended with police lights flashing outside. It was a Friday, packed as usual, and the dartboard in the back corner had a crowd around it. A group of 4, a loud, roady bunch, had claimed the area. They weren't regulars, at least not ones I recognized. Just the kind of group you see come in every once in a while, looking to drink, laugh, and show off for each other. There were 3 guys and a woman. They were loud from the start, ordering round after round of beers and shots, making a spectacle of themselves. They'd gotten into a game of darts, and pretty soon, it turned into a betting war. At first, it was just small stuff. A round of drinks, $10 here and there. Nothing out of the ordinary. But as the night wore on, the bets started to get weird. Loser has to sing karaoke in front of everyone. Loser has to chug a pitcher of beer. They were laughing so hard, slapping the table, egging each other on, that I didn't think much of it. People were watching, sure, but no one seemed worried. Then one of the guys, probably the loudest of the group, started raising the stakes. I don't know his name, but let's call him the big guy. He was clearly the ringleader, the one pushing everyone further and further. He slammed his hand on the table and yelled, "Come on, make it interesting. Let's do something real." The rest of the group hesitated, but they were drunk and caught up in the energy. The bets escalated. The woman in the group ended up smashing her phone on the floor after losing a round. One of the other guys had to run barefoot through the alley behind the bar. It was all just stupid, drunk nonsense. Until the last round, the big guy threw his arm around one of his friends, some skinny, quiet guy who'd been laughing nervously all night, and said, "All right, here's the deal. You win this round, I'll buy drinks for a month. But if I win, you let me throw a dart at your hand." The group roared with laughter. The skinny guy turned pale, shaking his head. "No way, man, that's insane." The big guy smirked. "What's the matter? Afraid I'll miss?" He waved a dart in front of him, grinning like it was all a big joke. The others started egging him on, drunk and sloppy, shouting things like, "Come on, it'll be fine. And you gotta do it, man." I kept my distance. I didn't think they'd actually go through with it. Drunk idiots make stupid bets all the time, but most of the time they back down before anyone gets hurt. I figured this was just more of the same. But then the skinny guy sighed, laughed nervously, and said, "Fine, 1 throw, but you miss, and I get the pot." That's when I should have stepped in. I should have told them to knock it off, but I didn't. It's not my job to babysit grown adults, right? The skinny guy put his hand flat on the table, fingers spread wide. The bar got quieter. Everyone turned to watch as the big guy lined up the shot, squinting like it was some kind of game show. The dart flew and hit the table, just grazing the edge of the guy's pinky. Everyone cheered and laughed like it was the funniest thing they'd ever seen. The skinny guy yanked his hand back, shaking it. "All right, that's it. Game over," he said. But the big guy wasn't done. "Come on, 1 more throw, double or nothing," he said, grabbing another dart. "No way!" The skinny guy tried to pull away, but the big guy grabbed his wrist and slammed his hand back onto the table. Before anyone could stop him, he threw the dart. This time, he didn't miss. The dart buried itself in the guy's hand, right between his knuckles. He screamed so loud, the whole bar went silent. Blood started pooling on the table, and the woman in their group started crying, saying, "What the hell is wrong with you?" I grabbed my phone and called the cops, while one of the others tried to pull the dart out. The skinny guy was screaming, the big guy was laughing like it was no big deal, and the rest of the group looked like they wanted to disappear. When the cops showed up, they hauled the big guy out in cuffs. The skinny guy was taken to the hospital, and I heard later that he needed surgery to fix the damage. The big guy, he got charged with assault. The group hasn't been back since, and honestly, I hope they never come back. I've seen a lot of stupid things working this job, but that night, that was the first time I realized just how far people will go when they're drunk, desperate to impress, and too caught up in their own stupidity to see the line they've crossed. Let's just say I keep a much closer eye on the dartboard now. Story number 2. I've been bartending long enough to know my regulars like the back of my hand. You see the same faces week after week, ordering the same drinks, telling the same jokes. It's like clockwork. That's why Henry stood out, because he was so consistent. Every Friday at 8 p.m., he'd walk in, sit at the corner of the bar, and order a whiskey neat. He didn't talk much, but he was always polite, always tipped well. Henry wasn't memorable in any particular way, just a quiet guy, mid-50s, average build, neatly dressed. He'd sit, sip his drink, and leave around 10 p.m. No drama, no fuss. I liked him, or at least I didn't dislike him. That night started like any other. The bar was busy but manageable. Henry came in right on time, sat in his usual spot, and ordered his whiskey. He nursed it for hours, barely engaging with anyone. When I glanced at him toward the end of my shift, he gave me a polite nod and left, like usual. But about 15 minutes after he'd gone, I noticed his wallet sitting on the counter. At first, I didn't think much of it. People forget things all the time. I figured Henry would realize and come back. But as the minutes ticked by, I started to get a weird feeling. Henry wasn't the type to forget things. He was meticulous, the kind of guy who double-checked everything before walking out the door. Curiosity got the better of me. I opened the wallet just to see if there was an ID or a phone number, something to help me get it back to him. Inside there was cash, more than I'd ever seen someone carry. There were also credit cards. But what really caught my eye was the stack of photos tucked into one of the larger slots. The first few were of people sitting at bars. My bar. At first I didn't recognize them, but as I flipped through, a chill crept up my spine. One photo showed a woman who used to come in often, a regular like Henry. She'd stopped showing up a couple of months ago, and I assumed she'd just moved on to another spot. But the look on her face in the picture, it wasn't the kind of expression you'd expect from someone enjoying a night out. She looked scared. Her eyes were wide, her lips pressed tight, like she was holding back tears. The next photo was worse. It showed another woman, slumped over a table, her eyes half closed. She looked unconscious. I wanted to stop, but I couldn't. I flipped to the last photo, and my heart stopped. It was from that night. It showed a young woman who'd been sitting at the bar earlier, chatting with a group of friends. I remembered her because she was laughing so loudly it drew attention. In the photo, though, she wasn't laughing. She was alone, standing outside, her face pale and her eyes glassy. It looked like the picture was taken just before she got into someone's car. I flipped the photo over, and there was a note scrawled on the back. "She'll do." My stomach turned. I ran to check the bar's cameras. I fast-forwarded through the footage from earlier that night, scanning the screen for Henry. When I spotted him leaving, I saw the girl following not long after. She'd stepped outside alone, and seconds later, a car pulled up to the curb. It wasn't Henry's car. I knew that much. But what made my blood run cold was the moment the car door opened. Henry wasn't the driver. He was in the back seat, waiting. I called the police immediately, but by the time they arrived, Henry's trail had gone cold. They ran his name, but it wasn't real. Everything about him, his polite demeanor, his routine, even his name, was fake. The girl, she was never found, and Henry hasn't been back since. Story number 3. My best friend and I have this tradition. Once a month, we pick a new bar, dress up, and just have a girls' night. No guys, no drama, just drinks, music, and catching up. That's how it started that night, but it ended in a way I'll never forget. We'd picked a trendy little spot downtown. It was packed, but not overwhelming, and we managed to snag a small table near the back. After ordering a round of cocktails, we settled into our usual routine, laughing, gossiping, and occasionally people watching. It was the kind of night where everything just felt light and fun. Then they showed up. I don't remember seeing them come in, but at some point 2 guys appeared at the edge of our table. They weren't unattractive, but they had this cocky, overconfident energy that immediately put me on edge. The taller one, let's call him Guy 1, leaned in and said, "Hey ladies, mind if we join you?" Before we could answer, they pulled up chairs and sat down. My friend and I exchanged a look, the kind that said, "Let's stay polite, but get rid of these guys fast." "Actually, we're just here for a girls' night," I said, keeping my tone firm but friendly. Guy 2, the shorter one with a sleazy smile, grinned. "Come on, we'll make it better. We'll buy the next round." "No thanks," my friend chimed in. "We're good," but they didn't leave. Instead, they started peppering us with questions: where we were from, if we came here often, if we had boyfriends. Guy 1 even tried to put his arm on the back of my chair, and I had to scoot forward to avoid it. Every time we gave a short answer or tried to change the subject, they just laughed and kept going. At one point, Guy 2 reached for my drink. "What are you drinking?" he asked, swirling it around like he was some kind of cocktail expert. I snatched it back. "Just a margarita." "Relax," he said, holding his hands up like I was overreacting. "We're just being friendly." That's when my friend gave me the look, the one that said, "We need to leave." I nodded and started gathering my things. "It's been nice chatting, but we're going to check out another spot," I said, trying to sound casual. Guy 1 frowned. "You don't have to go. We just got here." "Yeah, stay," Guy 2 added, his tone a little sharper now. "We'll buy you around." "No, really, we're good," my friend said, standing up. That's when Guy 2 grabbed her wrist. It wasn't hard, but it was enough to make both of us freeze. "Don't be like that," he said, his sleazy smile gone now. "We're just trying to have fun." "Let go of me," my friend said, her voice shaking. Guy 1 leaned in toward me, like he was trying to block me from standing up. "She's fine. Just stay a little longer." I felt my heart racing, but I tried to stay calm. "Seriously, let go of her," I said, my voice firmer this time. That's when I noticed it. Guy 2's other hand was under the table. I glanced down and saw him fumbling with something near her glass. It was quick, but I saw it. A tiny, clear packet of powder. He had been trying to pour it into her drink. "Hey!" I shouted, grabbing my friend's arm and yanking her away from the table. I pointed at the drink, my voice shaking as I said, "What the hell are you doing?" Both guys froze for a split second. Then Guy 2 shoved the glass away like it wasn't a big deal. "Chill out," he said, standing up. "It was just a joke." "A joke?" I snapped. "You were spiking her drink." People were starting to stare now, and Guy 1 looked nervous. "Let's just go," he muttered, pulling Guy 2 toward the door. They left so quickly it was almost like they'd planned their escape. My friend and I just stood there, shaking. The bartender came over, asking what had happened. I told him everything, and he immediately called the police. When they arrived, they reviewed the security footage and confirmed what I'd seen. The camera had caught Guy 2 pulling out the packet and pouring it into the glass. The cops said they'd seen similar cases before and that the powder was likely some kind of sedative. They took our statements and promised to follow up. But I never found out what happened to those guys. We haven't gone back to that bar since. And now, I never let my drink out of my sight. The next time you walk into a bar, remember, not every drink is innocent, not every game is harmless, and not every stranger has good intentions. Thank you for joining me tonight as we delved into these chilling tales. If these stories resonated with you, subscribe for more journeys into the dark corners of the mundane. Until next time, keep your wits about you, and remember, the darkness is always closer than it seems.